The emotional impact of our surroundings, the challenges of a multi-year global project, and why the perfect kitchen starts with the mother archetype. Elana Tenenbaum Cline, architecturally trained interior designer with a fascinating background, rooted in both structured discipline and creative layering, came into my virtual studio here to share her journey from attending Syracuse University and their intensive architecture program to working on massive global projects like the Abu Dhabi Airport. The conversation explores the practical creative mindset, the importance of constraints in design, and the profound shift from large-scale architecture to intimate human scale of interior design. Elana explains her philosophy that our surroundings completely impact how we perform and think, detailing how she uses personal narratives to craft spaces and truly help resonate those ideas through her clients. The architectural foundation. Elana discusses growing up with a structured father and a creative mother, and how her 5-year architecture degree informs her complex interior renovations today. We talk about the emotional connection. We talk about running and how terrible marathons can be. If you're a runner, you might want to fast forward through that. Or you might want to start running because you understand as a working designer or architect how it's exactly like that, and it strengthens muscles you might not ordinarily get to work on. Redefining luxury. I love this one because if you haven't picked up on it in the last few months and years, I do not care for the word luxury. Not because there's anything inherently wrong with it, it's because it's misunderstood and completely misused. In interior design and architecture, luxury might be as simple as a perfectly organized silverware drawer rather than just gaudy, expensive materials. And I can hear designers across the country nodding in agreement. The performance of space, I love this idea. The insights into commercial projects like the West River Surgery Center, where the design's primary goal is to evoke a sense of ease and calm for patients, and how maybe some of those ideas can be expressed in a residential project. Anyway, we talk about a lot here. And to someone like Elana, who says, quote, "I call myself a practical creative. I love being creative, but I love having constraints," end quote. You're going to pick up on that and a bunch of other ideas, and you're going to hear it all right after this. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you've heard me say this, that the most important word in the design industry is service. Product is important, price is important, selection is important, but stellar service is the premier idea that can make all the difference in the success of a project, any project. How design professionals like you demand great service and your favorite brands in one place with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commission sales professionals. It's really important. It means that their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that with over 60 years of experience in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. Now, you have the Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. Earn 3% in Best Buy gift cards, e-gift cards, or 2.5% in rewards checks for every qualified and delivered sale. In addition to special trade pricing, exclusive offers, access to exclusive special events, and so much more than I could possibly tell you about here. And the cherry on top is access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands and the stellar service, again, from a company that has been serving the industry for over 60 years. Terms and conditions apply to the Pro Rewards program and builder trade incentives. So visit a Pacific sales expert at a showroom today for full details and to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. And I have to ask you, I'm going to put this on social. I'm going to put this on Instagram so people can see you. Is that a green screen or is that real?
It's real.
Wow.
It's so real. I feel very lucky. We're in I think it's like a 350-year-old building, over 300 years old. And it's tiny but mighty. If you saw the extent of what I'm in, I could almost touch the walls, but it's so worth it, in my opinion.
Where are you?
I'm at the mouth of Southport Harbor. And actually, what's interesting is the water is going under the building and it continues. This is called the Tide Mill building. So the mill, the wheels in the lobby, and you can kind of just see it go right under. It's fascinating. I did consult with a structural engineer before we moved in because naturally I had to have a big marble table. And we were concerned with that plus the materials that I would fall in the water. And their advice was you might if you had a party, and worst cases, it'd be a great like cocktail party conversation. You'd be fine. So we're living on the edge here at Carta. It's great.
It's amazing. My wife's recently departed father, Roke's Bluff, Maine, and the house that they lived in, like 250 years old,
Yeah.
and you would walk down to the basement and you would see that the entire structure was built on one beam, which was actually one tree. And they defined the length of the house by the size of the tree that
Yeah.
they built. And it was, I don't even know what you call it architecturally, how this foundation was, but it was one beam and then everything came off of it. But
Wow.
you'd go down to the basement, you'd see this one beam. It's astounding to me how, we talk about architecture in terms of 10, 20, 30, 75 years.
Yeah.
We should be thinking differently about it.
I know, and it's still here. I mean, through storms and through all kinds of animals that find their way around here and sometimes into the office. It's fascinating. I'm sorry to hear that about your father-in-law.
No, thank you. But I imagine too that it's incredibly inspiring for
And
you.
calming. I mean,
Yeah.
it's every day. I have two very little kids in a very hectic household. Every day I'm grateful to be in here. It's why I do what I do. I'm a big believer that our surroundings completely impact how we feel, how we perform, how we think, and all of that. And it's a pretty incredible and remarkable place to be. So I'm very, very, I gave the building owner a bottle of bourbon and I said, I'm never leaving. I'm staying forever. Consider this like a 50-year lease. I'm just goodbye. So we'll see. That's the
I think
plan.
that's amazing. Alana, I have so much to talk to you about. All right. So, what I like to generally do is I
Hmm.
like to kind of start with the backstory
Hmm.
because I feel like, and the reason I do that isn't for any other reason than I think it really sets a table. If past is prologue, I feel like our background really does define not just
Hmm.
who we are today, but who we're going to be in the future. And you have a background now your parents were dabbled in architecture and design, so you had this from an upbringing. As you grew up, you kind of defined your own spaces. You were given a little bit of latitude to do that. How did you take that and wind up where you are today?
I love this question too. It always starts with mom and dad. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And as a parent, it makes me excited, but it's nervous. It's such a big responsibility. Gosh, my mom, we always had a very layered house growing up. My dad is incredibly structured, very regimented. There has to be an answer for everything. And naturally, I was laying twigs out in the backyard. I'd give my siblings, like, this is the tour of the house, and here's the hallway, and here's the dining room. And it makes sense now looking back at it. Um, and I mean, I loved drafting. I loved architects' offices. I never grew up knowing one, but it really started to come clear to me in high school. And when you commit to a 5-year architecture program, it's a big deal. You're not going to school to study a general subject, you're committing to an extra year of school, a really, really intensive program, and a different experience than most people have in college. And I remember going to Syracuse and I looked at my dad and I said, I don't want to go here. I have to go here. I just had that very deep, super instinctual feeling. And I mean, I have no regrets about it. I think I call myself a practical creative. I love being creative. I love having constraints. It's so terrifying if someone just gave you a white sheet of paper and said, do whatever you want, have a great time. What's so beautiful about architecture and interior design is where's the best daylight? Where's the best view? How do you actually live in the space? How do you think? So you're starting with a lot of tangibles and factors in a very big and broad world, which is very helpful for me. And I like listening to that. But it's interesting. I mean, in my 20s, I panicked. I was working at big architecture firms and was thinking like, oh my God, every day is the same. I'm at a desk. I'm working so hard. I come home so late. I think I chose the wrong profession. And it's just that moment of panic, honestly. But looking back at it, I mean, I think that's the beauty of working in your 20s is constantly questioning it so that you have the courage to evolve it to a place that then feels really right. And so it's funny almost that I'm here now and we're here because I don't think I ever would have, I think I did dream it, but I never really said it out loud. And it's exciting. I still have no regrets going to architecture school. I think it informs the interior design world. We do at Carta creatives very complex interior renovations, and having that knowledge base, understanding the implications of it from a volumetric perspective on the exterior really helps think holistically through all of those things. And it's really what gets my juices flowing.
I love hearing that. And it's so interesting to me because I believe that when you look at specifically interior design, there are so many ways to get there. Some go to school for it, get a degree, hang a shingle. Some go to school for it, go work for someone else, get the experience, hang a shingle. Some don't go to school. So anyway, I have spoken to people. I've spoken. One designer was formerly an agent at CAA. I've spoken to lawyers. I've spoken
Yeah.
to teachers, all kinds of things. It's interesting to me when I speak to someone who is an architect, who
Mhm.
went to architecture school and chose interior design over architecture. I feel like that is a very difficult and purposeful choice.
Yes, for me, it's all about the human connection. My father was a surgeon, and I remember thinking, oh, he gets to save lives. He gets to talk to people every day. He really gets this intimate understanding of how someone's living. And that's almost exactly what I'm doing. And I think understanding the human scale. And one of my favorite parts of our process is when we kick off, I'm trying to get into my client's brain. How do they like want to serve coffee in the morning? What are their favorite colors? What do they hate and reminds them of their grandma's couch from their childhood? And that process for me was harder to feel and experience in the architectural world, just by nature of scale. And so on the interior side, I started by doing offices, corporate offices at large scale, but it was still, spanning multiple floors over what is the desk and how is someone storing papers and where does their monitor go, and I really enjoy that. I think understanding that it can have improve and enhance someone's life for me gives me great motivation and joy. um, and the pace of it too. Architecture, again, depending on the scale, the size of the building, it can go on, as you know, for a long time, and there's this like kind of pace with interiors um, that keeps me you know going. And every day is different.
Yeah, I feel like just in the few minutes that we've been talking, you might become emotionally disenchanted with a 3 or 5 year project where you can't actually get to it until then.
It depends. I mean, if you said, Alana, let's do a hotel and it's going to take 6 years, I'd be like, let's do it. Um, but I mean, it depends. But yes, my first project out of architecture school was Abu Dhabi Airport. And I think they just finished that a few years ago. I mean, that's a long time. And like my friends who are still on the projects are saints. We're just wired differently. And I think a big part of any job or any career is understanding your makeup as a human being, what your likes, your dislikes, your strengths, your weaknesses, things that get you ticking and going. And for me, the pace was a part of it, and just seeing things move at a faster rate.
I think too, there's a question of meaningful intent.
Mhm.
And I believe that it's more important now than it has been in quite some time. You look at the old pioneers, and the home really was everything,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that without that, you didn't have that, you have a problem, especially in the
Yeah.
Midwest in January.
Yeah.
Corbusier talked about home as machine.
Hmm.
I feel like we have gotten so far away from that because of certain elements, social media, the word luxury. We've gotten so far away from it that we don't always think about, as an industry,
Hmm.
we don't always think about the home really is a series of machines. And
Hmm.
if all of those machines are working properly, then it is a functional home.
Hmm.
How does your architectural background help you manifest that and make it happen for clients who oftentimes, I think, and you can speak to this better than I, but I feel like clients are much smarter than they were before. But with social media and AI, it's almost like the stupid machine. Like it makes people who are intellectually smart enough to know how something is supposed to work
Hmm.
believe it because their eyes are telling them because something made it, even though it's not real.
Right, right. And especially with social media, this expectation that everyone has a picture perfect home. Does it function? Doesn't really matter, but it looks great and it's, perfectly positioned in frame. And that's hard to keep up with. It's hard to talk to. Um, I mean, it's interesting. I think a lot of clients come to us, and I'm also proud to say it to prospective clients. They're not coming to us for a look. They're coming to us because each project is uniquely different and very, very catered to each client, which comes with the functionality component too. Um, it's the Libra in me of balance, and it's also just the architect in me, which sure, let's make a pretty picture, but does it work? Can the client stand by it and say, I had the best Thanksgiving here? This quickly flipped from like my Tuesday kitchen to host mode. I mean, that to me is the is the power behind it. We once had when I was at Shop Architects, we did a really fantastic project with Frog in Dumbo. And the clients and we became good friends. And they said, Alana, you designed the space too well. We have too many parties. They would go from office mode to party mode and pilot these really interesting, projects they were working on. And it was just this constant flow. And to me, that was one of the best compliments to receive is it's like, it's working too well, too many parties, enough. Um, and if someone can't move in this space appropriately, then like, what was the point in the first place?
Okay, I want to try something.
Hmm.
I've never done this before.
Oh, great.
Word association,
Okay.
architecture.
Glasses. I'll be more design intentful about it.
Wait a minute. So architecture, it's glasses?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I just think of the persona of an architect and
Copy
it's,
that. Okay,
yeah, it's the professor, it's the,
got it.
um, I would say scale, maybe.
No, go with your first. I totally
Yeah,
get that. It's
glasses.
it's the impression. I get it.
Yeah. There's
Interior design.
fabric,
Interesting. AI,
misleading,
social media,
annoying,
luxury,
in doses.
running.
Mm, this is hard. I just ran the New York City Marathon. It's a loaded one. Uh, exhilarating.
Okay. Okay. It's funny too, one runner to another.
Hmm.
I I I have such a respect for other runners when I speak to them. because I feel like runners, there are tons of different competitive sports activities, or as it was once described to me, as my running uh, was an addiction. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But in the scheme of things, especially in interior design,
Hmm.
architecture too, to some degree, but interior design, it's almost like I can see and I can visualize how running a marathon is like working on a project with a specific type of client.
Hmm.
You know, the starting line, that's the contract,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You get through your first 10K, you're like, okay, we got a concept. You get into mile 12, 13, you're approaching the half. It's like, okay, we're in specification mode. And we've already found a couple of holes. The contractor found this and the trades found that. And we've specified all these things. And now I'm doing respecs and I'm trying to, they don't,
Yep.
this is discontinued and they don't make this anymore. And
Yep.
now they, oh,
And
this
then mile
sucks.
18 hits and you're like, boo, you're on the floor.
Mile 18 hits and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. These clients are terrible, but I love them and I love this.
Why did
They,
I choose this? This is the wrong choice. Why am I here? How did I get here? And then something happens where you pull yourself back together and you just,
no, no, come on, you're jumping the
oh,
gun. Too
no,
soon. Too
too soon.
soon. You get to mile 20.
Still sucks.
No, mile 20 is the super suck of a marathon. To
Super
me,
suck.
to me, mile 20 is when, and this is a question, not a statement. For me, as I see it in your perspective, mile 20 is the part of the project with a specific type of client when you've gotten through all the work and it's coming together. It's all gelling and morphing in your mind, and the team's
Hmm.
working on it. You're almost there, and the client doesn't get it. The
Hmm.
client doesn't see the vision
Yeah.
because it isn't. They can't see it. They can't sit on it. They can't touch it. They can't live in it.
Yep. That's the dig deep moment. You can see it and then you use your tools. You get your goo, you get your salt packet, you get your water, you get your renderer, you get your colleague, you get your favorite vendor, and you figure it out. You just figure it out until you get there. Until you get there.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you get to the kick.
Yeah.
And your kick is that moment where it's like, I've got nothing left,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna make it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna make it to the end of this project. And that's not to say that every project's like that, but with runners
Hmm.
who, like you, who happens to be an interior designer, I'm curious, do you think about it in those terms? I mean, whether it's intentional or unintentional, do you think about it in those terms like, you know what, I'm going to trust my training? And I think that's really what it
Yeah.
comes down to is
Yeah.
trusting the training that you know what you're doing. There is no
Yeah.
false modesty. It's not like you're faking it till you make it. Like you've been trained for this. Do you
Yep.
think about it like that?
All the time. I think there's a curiosity component. I mean, this was my first marathon that I just ran, and I talked to friends who did it. I really wanted to get the things I could control right, which meant every training run, testing it out. Am I testing out new shorts? Am I testing out a new gel? Like just testing it. Terrible run. Okay, you know what? Fine. I'm gonna not do that one again and try that one. And being okay with the like mini fails, knowing that it was working towards a bigger thing. The other interesting thing is it doesn't just end at the finish line. Then you've got your photo shoot and you're pitching. And you're trying to walk down the stairs the next day and you can't do it. And there's this post thing that happens that's so emotive. I don't know if other designers feel this way. We worked on a project, talk about timelines. It was a 2-year project, which for us it was slow, it was steady, it was an unbelievable home. It was our Ridgefield project. And the photo shoot was a big deal. It was 2 full days and the photo shoots are hard, they're draining, they're exhausting. And as the interior designer, you're the architect of the day. You're getting coffee for everyone, meals, you're making sure we didn't break anything of the clients. The photographer is happy with the shot, the stylist has the right things. Oh my God, we need another floral. I'm running out. And then you finish it, you might never see the project again. depending on the location, the distance. And it's this culmination of this time, and you're drained from the photo shoot. And it's funny, I don't think it's something people talk about enough because sometimes, clients are, oh, you're not going to shoot my project. And we can't shoot. I'd love to shoot every project. We can't. It's super expensive. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of emotional time, and it's really hard to do. So there's that like post-op, I guess you could call it, of a marathon and a project that almost deserves its own mini phase because of the time and space it can take up, especially, as a business owner and interior designer. And then it's the marketing tool. And then the portfolio piece to say, like, look what we did. And it always looks easy in a single shot, but there's so much that goes into it.
There is so much that goes into it, and I'm curious. You said something that I want to ask you and more about. Why don't you shoot every project now? Given I get it, the expensive things,
hmm
but you never, especially with what you do, you never get a second chance. You don't get a second bite of the apple. Why don't you shoot every project?
I learned that lesson the hard way. There was an early project we did, and I was like, I never turned around in that room. I don't have a view of it. It doesn't exist. And I think each project is different by nature of what we do. We are a pretty widespread firm in what we offer. We do furnishings and true interior design and decor, and renovations. If we are just renovating a bathroom, or if we're doing a renovation but without the furnishings, there's a huge component to rent furniture and get it right. If we're doing the furnishings and decor but without finishing anything, it doesn't feel quite finished too. And so sometimes we're hired to do very specific things in specific place spaces, but it's not completing the whole room. And what's really great is a lot of our clients come back to us and they say, okay, now we're ready to paint the room and wallpaper the room or add a ceiling. And to your earlier point too about Instagram and social media, I mean, you're keeping up with an extremely competitive, incredibly talented market where rooms are complete. And I don't mind I like taking on projects where if someone moves from New York City and get to furnish their whole house, that's great. This furniture they're going to have for decades. We may not be able to paint the rooms, and that's okay. And that's, a business decision. And I think it's part of an approachable factor that I want to maintain. But it does become a balancing act from a business perspective.
You are listening to my conversation with Elana Tenenbaum Cline. We'll be right back. At the highest level of design, the absolute best specifying designers, architects, landscape designers are all highly focused on the technology and performance of products and materials today. You have to, because the products you specify for your projects have to perform and they have to last. That's one of the reasons why I am so proud to be working with TimberTech. Their focus on the technical renaissance of synthetic decking is literally changing the conversation about innovation and performance. It pulls focus on three priorities homeowners have and expect from the products their designers and architects specify for their luxury projects. 1. Aesthetics must match the overall design and fit visually. 2. Durability and maintenance. I've told you about my board flipping stories from my own wood decks. Clients not only want beauty, but they want ease of use, and they want it to last for decades. 3, sustainably made. Clients are more conscious of the environment now, and they want the same of their materials. TimberTech hits each one of these elements with a product that not only meets expectations, they exceed them. TimberTech makes a synthetic decking that looks just like wood, color and embossed wood grain for a natural appearance. Their composite decking is technologically superior, as it has been created to last for decades, and it's manufactured with up to 85% recycled material. Their advanced PVC, vintage, and landmark collections have a Class A flame spread rating, making these products an amazing choice for wildfire-prone areas. which unfortunately continues to grow on the risk map. Check the show notes for more information about this and to find the nearest showroom or lumberyard where you can find TimberTech, or you can check them out directly, timbertech.com. The design industry is in the midst of a generational and fundamental change. If you're in the biz, you feel it. I know you do. We all do. Just about every aspect of the industry is growing, changing, and turning into something entirely different due to a number of factors that, not to go into here, but between tariffs and supply chain and political influence, just clients have changed. Pricing has changed. Everything about the industry has changed, except for one thing: the need for strong design and architecture communities. And that's what led to the creation of Shelter Republic, an online community exclusively for the design and architecture communities, a place to engage with other like-minded creatives outside of the prying eyes of clients and the media. Wouldn't you like to belong to a nurturing community where you can have those real, challenging, authentic conversations, watch exclusive design-focused content, take free courses to level up your design business, hear from experts in the industry, guiding you and helping you move ever forward? And it's free to join. No catch, but it's invitation only. This is not like maybe some other programs you've heard of before where you pay a fee, a sizable fee, and go through a quasi-vetting process only to get there and realize that you're kind of just paying for an ad. That is not what this is. If you're a designer or an architect, you qualify. If you want in, email convobydesign@outlook.com and type Shelter Republic in the subject line. That's it. An invitation to join will follow. Call this the anti-social media platform where you can meet, engage, and share ideas in a safe, closed community environment of like-minded creatives. That's what this is. And like I said, it's free to join. Send an email, convobydesign@outlook.com. Subject line is Shelter Republic. It's that simple. And like I said, it's free to join. See you there. Back to the word association exercise. One of the things that I wanted to gauge was, I've come to learn a couple of things, and having these conversations is just so, it's enlightening, it's empowering, it's really, really cool because we're able to sort of chop things up in real time and explore ideas. I have become obsessed with the word luxury. I think it exemplifies the one thing in our industry that is so representative of how our language of the projects and the industry and of design don't match intent.
Hmm.
And luxury has a different definition to every person. Yet if you look
Exactly.
at the Webster's definition of luxury, not many people would actually ask for that.
Yeah.
So how do you have conversations with clients?
Mhm.
And I say this understanding it's a business, first and foremost. If you wanted to do this and not get paid for it, I'm sure you would have no shortage of making this an amazing hobby that you could do with your free time. But it's a business. And so you have to earn contracts. You have to earn the business to go do these wonderful projects. How do you manipulate? How do you approach the language of it?
Mhm.
Because as a trained architect, architecture has a very distinct language, which is really interesting because the vernacular changes over time. Nobody ever has a problem with the changing vernacular of architecture. But interior design, it's still stuck using verbiage and terms that don't really apply anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. What a great point. It's interesting too. You think about luxury in an architectural language. To me, that's a material That's easy. Like luxury in architecture is a material choice. It's the cladding of the building or, the lobby flooring. For interior design, luxury might be a silverware organizer in a drawer for someone. I have clients who we've done full gut floor renovations of their entire first floor. We've changed the way they live. We've moved their kitchen to the other side of the house, and we stay at the silverware drawer organizer for 15 minutes. They can't wait to show it to me. It's a true luxury for them. Um, it's for me, for clients, it's understanding what luxury means to them. And that could be in the physical sense or in the metaphorical, functional sense. Um, and what really gets them like tickled, if that makes sense. Like what will give them the greatest joy in their new space. Is it, a luxe fabric wallpaper decision that we made, or is it how it feels and functions? And so it's constantly changing, but I also have to be careful using the word luxury to a client scare can be scary and immediately equate dollar signs and it's a I actually don't even know if I rarely use the term with clients. I think for I'll say luxurious if I'm talking about the texture of a fabric, um, or maybe even how a space feels in terms of the size and expansiveness. Um, but it's a very careful word. And even the wealthiest clients all have budgets and want to be manage them extremely carefully. And so it's sort of it's I try to use plain speak honestly with clients because they want to understand things and keep up just as much as we want to be able to communicate to the contractor. And so I think it's like really knowing when to just use certain words in certain times, and who the audience is in that moment.
How much more of the performative nature of things do you apply to the projects upon which you're working? In other words, and this is the thing too, unless you're working on hospitality, commercial, industrial, because when you're working in those areas, commercial, industrial, hospitality, you're working with buyers, you're working with
Hmm.
planners, you're working
Hmm.
with, corporate designers who understand how things work. When
Hmm.
you're doing residential projects, you're not really working with the known quantity, or you don't know how much they know.
Hmm.
There are certain clues that you can get along the way. I don't know, like when someone says, "Hey, listen, why don't you just let me have your trade discount and I'll pay you a flat fee?" That's a pretty good indicator it's time to walk. But at least you know what you're dealing with.
Right.
Most of the time, you can get like the one thing about artificial intelligence is it puts out there these ideas where somebody can put a sentence together for you that ChatGPT told them to say,
Right.
and you could say, oh, they know what they're, you answer them appropriately, and they'll nod and have no idea what you just said.
Right.
So how do you approach the performative nature of things? And I'll even back up further as to say you're on the East Coast this weekend. We've got some weather coming. I'm in the Midwest, so I've got it first. I get it before you. By the time you get it, it's
Yeah.
going to be full rage, right?
Yeah. All rage.
Yeah. So the performative nature of things have to be better than they
Yeah.
were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Products change, specs change, weather
Hmm.
changes, climate changes. How do
Hmm.
you stay on top of it?
Yeah, I credit to my incredible colleague Rachel. Rachel's a certified interior designer and she is no stone unturned. If we did a kitchen where the client's mandate was cozy. The entire backsplash up to the ceiling is a stone veneer. It looks like a fireplace. It's amazing. Naturally, though, we really had to make sure that that stone veneer would stand the test of time performance-wise in a kitchen. We're talking pasta sauce. I mean, not that anyone's throwing red wine, but let's take the most extreme elements and have at it. For this material to work, we had to have like a full scale on-site mock-up with grout and with the sealer that we wanted to make sure that it worked. I think doing our due diligence on things that are out of the norm, may feel risky, require certain very important steps. We make it clear to the client where if this does not pass this mock-up test, we have to find another material. But for us, most of our clients have young children, they have pets, they really live in their houses versus just looking at them. Not that people do that often, but you know what I mean. They're really getting used. And it's important for us that they stand the test of time accordingly. I mean, we've had clients take a Caesar stone countertop sample, put everything you can imagine on it, mustard, ketchup, wine, lemons, limes, leave it for 3 days, come back to it, then tell, we're ready to bless it. And the market's evolving. I mean, even I guess I'm stuck on kitchen counters because it's where a lot of the action happens from a performance standpoint. It sees a lot, tough skin, 3M films. There's a lot out there. We have whole presentations just talking about the performance of kitchen countertops to help navigate the world of stone. Um, and so it's complex, and I think constantly questioning it. It's back to our runner conversation of just being curious and not being afraid to then poke the bear of curiosity and say, okay, let's explore this further. Let's get that sample. Let's get that sealer. Let's push the contractor to mock it up the way we want it to. Are critical steps so that we can sleep at night and not get that email from the client a year from now saying it's ruined and we have to do it all over again.
The project you just mentioned, was it either Silo Ridge Retreat or Westport Modern?
Neither. It's wrapping up construction now.
Oh, it's not up here.
It's not up yet. It's this, but it looks like the Greenfield Hill fireplace. Yes. But on a backsplash of a kitchen.
And I ask you that because one of the things that I've noticed that I think is just really fascinating, if you look at the work of a creative, interior designer, architect, they may have multiple styles in which they work. They may have a favorite and they stay there. That's fine too, but they may have multiple styles in which they work. But there's always a through line. There's always a
Hmm.
fingerprint. You
Yes.
will always see certain things in the work that are representative of the creative, of the artist, of the person
Yeah.
who's working on it. And I think that that's so important because it gives clients, maybe even subconsciously or subliminally rather, the opportunity to connect on a deeper level with the
Mhm.
creative who's going to be putting their home together for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you had to speculate, what are some of the through lines? Now, there's the difference between the bio and what we say
Sure.
and the work and how it's represented. What,
Hmm.
what would you say some of those through lines are in your work?
I love that question. I think layered is really important to us. I will, having something be hyper minimalistic, I don't think is anything that we would ever put out from a portfolio standpoint, or even something that like feels comfortable. I'm almost itchy thinking about it. I always give a client the same speech, which is like you finish this renovation, you do a bathroom, you do a kitchen, you've just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they put a pink Dove soap pump from Walgreens on the counter, and it's like a knife to the heart. Having the ability to help specify what probably is the lowest amount of money spent on the entire project, but how many times a day are you washing your hands and touching that soap pump, and it lives on your counter forever? To me, that's the through line of our projects and our portfolio is caring about that level of detail. Um, and making sure that it shows up from a thoughtfulness perspective, from a cohesion and completion perspective. And it's fun. I mean, it's so much fun because especially too, it's low risk. You can swap your soap pump out for Christmas next week, or I mean, we're past Christmas, Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day. But you know what I mean? There's like a joy in it. And I even think for clients too who might be afraid of color, no problem. Let's get crazy dish towels. And let's take things that are easily movable, you have fun in it too. You find things and you explore and you travel and bring that home and experiment. But having the right foundation for it, for that layering process, I think is part of the fun.
It's interesting too because you'll have some uh, interior designers who will take kind of like the Frank Lloyd Wright architectural approach, where I'm going to build the enclosure, I'm
Hmm.
going to build the interiors, I'm going to build the furniture, and I'm going to make them so you can't possibly move them.
Yeah.
And in the future, if you ever want to do anything to it, you're going to have to take a jackhammer to it because it's not going to move. So you have no options, you have no choices. You can put things on stuff, that's up to you. But
Right.
it's funny too because you have some creatives who are just like, no, I don't want you changing anything I do. How does your perspective change on commercial projects?
Hmm. It's a great question.
And while you think about it, I'm thinking specifically of the West River Surgery Center.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that one, well, it ties back to I mean, if you think about it in residential, in a home, the way I think about it is what mood are we trying to evoke in each space? Your dining room might be more dramatic than your day-to-day kitchen. What's different about commercial is you kind of have to pick one mood. You can't, if you're doing a hotel, that's a different story. You can evolve it room to room. But if you're doing a single space like the West River Surgery Center or even, the winery project we worked on, you have to pick a general lane and think about the customer journey, think about their experience. What are you trying to achieve? The surgery center was fascinating because it was either for an unexpected, this is a complex plastic surgery. It's for your traditional plastic surgeries, but also let's say someone was in a car accident 15 years ago and they've been wanting to fix their jawline for 15 years. They've been thinking about this surgery and this day for 15 years. And now you have a waiting room where they're about to go in for surgery. The surgery is behind those doors. How are we getting people in the space to calm down, feel okay, and just, you know, create a sense of ease, however we might try. We even did for that project a pamphlet of, where to go to recover, where's the pharmacy, something to like, so you could just hold and play with and noodle on, is a distraction, but also a helpful guide, post-op. And we did scents for them so that the space also had a smell. And it was really, really, it was fully sensorial, I guess you could say. It was, we thought about that more than any other project, I would say, from an all senses perspective.
I'm curious too. For years, I would, and on occasion I still do, speak to set decorators
Hmm.
because I love what they do.
Love.
This idea of taking a script and taking the words on a page
Hmm.
and then crafting the vibe, crafting
Hmm.
taking the five senses and making it
Hmm.
something like I would even talk to set decorators. Like, of course, you can't smell it on a set, and some actors
Right.
have allergies to certain. So you got all
Sure.
these people, but they would still attempt to bring in like real fruit instead of plastic, so you could get the scent of citrus. It's like,
Hmm.
what an interesting idea, even though it doesn't translate to the screen itself. When it comes to commercial projects, do you do you craft stories to aid in the design process, or are you taking direction from the clients in those cases?
It's usually project dependent. We are crafting stories. I learned this from my Brand Bureau Avroco experience. What are your different product customer archetypes? What's the day in the life? Where are they coming from? Who's their family? Do they have a family? What are they thinking about? What do they need? And it's fun because in a home, it's the same occupants, but in a commercial space, you're going to get a whole range of people. And it's a fun Starbucks experience. We did this too. It's like, who's coming here and what do they need? And it's, it's a tricky but a critical step in the process because it's really important to make sure you're being as inclusive as possible. You're being as thoughtful as possible. I used to never understand when I was working at Starbucks in their corporate headquarters, the mother the mother with two kids who's really tired and needs a coffee stat in the drive-thru, a mobile order pay. I never got it. I didn't have kids then. I have a whole different understanding of this now. I can't even, the mobile order, the drive-thrus, the timing, the like, and it's just, it's so much richer. And it's, it's that sense that we went back to earlier of the difference between architecture and interior design. You're like closing your eyes, you're pretending you're stepping into another body, and then you're moving through the space. Um, and it's part of that curiosity. It's part of that, when we have projects like that, we bring in some really key collaborators who help us with this and have great expertise in it. We've worked with them for years, and there's a good familiarity there. And it's great because, we're only as powerful as the team that we bring in. And I think bringing in the right strategic partners to challenge each other, to push each other, to think through things we might not have considered is really, really important, particularly for those more commercial settings.
On the business side, and you reminded me of something, on the business side, the chaos of the past year, how has it affected the business in the projects and the actual, nails and screws of the actual business? And how has it affected the project timelines due
Hmm.
to, trades being deported,
Yeah.
tariffs being affected, or potential tariffs being affected, or those who pre-bought and advanced on the tariffs, which made things sell out sooner, or had now you had to respecify. How have all these things affected you and changed the way that you do business of design?
Yeah, it's been a big hit and it's complicated. It's why the client relationship and choosing who we work with and who chooses to work with us is it's important to make sure that feels like a good relationship from the beginning. To be willing to evolve with changes, have honest conversations, be practical, be sensible. I mean, it means if we can't get something, maybe working with a vendor we've never worked with before, and there's a risk associated with that. Presenting those pros and cons to the client and being transparent with them about it. This could take longer, the quality, but the cost and the time, and so it's a weighing game. And I think presenting options and being open with clients about where we are and what's happening and always presenting alternatives is a big part of it. Um, what's interesting is on the flip side too, with the chaos of the last year, is I think people just want their home to be a respite now more than ever. It's crazy outside. Let's go home and just feel good. And so people genuinely want their homes to reflect who they are, to feel good, because the world is nuts. And I think it's exciting to see people want that. We try to set expectations from the get-go of timelines, potential scenarios, potential what ifs, potential risks. Um, I think, it's just important to keep clients along for the ride. Most of the time, they've never done this before too. And so there's a huge amount of trust that goes into that. And I just think it's always going to be about expectation setting, with each from the beginning, but then also with each step of the process.
What areas are you starting to approach now that perhaps you haven't in the past? Pre-pandemic, nobody really thought about how the open concept was dysfunctional.
Hmm.
That's an architecture choice, right? But from design, it wasn't the architects who were making up for
Yeah.
those dysfunctions. It was the interior designer saying, "Hey,
Right.
we can do a little noise baffling over here, and we can do
Hmm.
sound dampening over here, and we can craft an area for school and work." And
Hmm.
right, it was designers who were making those triage
Yes.
moves. Now that we have a little bit of distance and some of the things that kind of came out of that, and side note, um, kitchen design, zones or triangles?
Zones.
Do you find clients that still say, I just need a box with three appliances on a triangle in a zone, or I want the butler's pantry and I want the scullery and I want the.
People still say triangle as a terminology, understanding that there's adjacencies and relationships. Um, and but they're always willing to be pushed and challenged and to see what else is out there. I think people instead of the butler pantry, I mean drawer organization is like the big thing because basically you can get double the amount of space for what it's allowed for in terms of like the double layered silverware drawer or whatnot. So there's efficiencies behind all of that that I think are really hot that are important and worth exploring. It's a little bit more expensive than the soap pump, but in terms of the satisfaction, high touch, high like is the juice worth the squeeze concept? Absolutely. Um,
And I asked that because I was getting into sort of what's next for you, because there are these concepts that are on the horizon now. Safety and security are far more important than
mhm.
I recall them being on
Yeah.
the design side before, which is, if somebody was a celebrity or a titan, a captain of industry, they would have a security analyst,
Hmm.
safe room engineers, they'd have it worked into a build. I mean, or after the fact, here's what we do. But most people can't afford $100,000 security door, right?
Hmm.
But is security a thing? Air quality, water quality, Wi-Fi and internet, power. Hopefully we won't all, there's nothing wrong with the love sack or whatever it is, but I'm hoping that we don't get to the point where everyone's sofa has, all of these USB
Yeah.
ports and we're plugging in every bit of our furniture. But you do see there is a problem, especially if you're specifying appliances, that much of the mechanics, they don't speak to each other. They're all app based and everyone's got their own app. Most people don't want on their phone 47
Mhm.
different apps to fill. Now you're entering a different phase of your profession that 10 years ago you weren't talking about. 5 years ago you weren't talking about.
Mhm.
What do you see that most people are asking you for that you're self-educating on now?
Yes. People want to be outside as much as possible. They want to connect to nature as much as possible while having access to power, having shade, bearing in mind climate change. Are we on the water and now need to raise your whole house 6 feet? And what happened, and if we are doing an enclosed porch, what happens with high winds? And so it's a really delicate balance. Let's get outside more, but also I need my laptop and a blender and to be able to flip to have a 80-person party, in an hour. And so um I love the spirit behind it because, being outside is everyone's always happier outside. My kids are happier outside. It's great. But how do we do it in a way that doesn't feel forced, that feels natural? That feels safe and but also still talks to the integrity of what's happening on the inside. Um, and so that's been a really fun challenge, especially as we think about, the blend of architecture, interiors, landscape architecture. And it becomes a really, really fun. I mean, I've used the word architecture school. I love saying hybrid, like hybrid this and hybrid that. Let's just hybridize everything. But in a way, it's where you get this now nexus of different trades, different disciplines, pushing it a little bit more. Um, and it's fun. I think it's really, in a way, all about the right partnerships so that, that person is educated and has a background and is also looking at new trends. We're looking at new things. So when you partner with the right people, you're able to help each other out and then push the project further in that way too.
Yeah, and what I found too is that out of chaos comes opportunity.
Hmm.
And you talk about this hybrid model that you're speaking about. It's really interesting. I'll give you an example. So I saw this in Southern California 2015, 16, 17 with the double kitchens and the multiple kitchens.
Yeah.
Following that, or maybe it was at the same time, the outdoor kitchen really
Uh-huh.
started gaining momentum. I mean, gone are the days where it's a Weber grill and a hose, right? I mean,
Mm-mm.
we've got on par with an indoor kitchen. And it's really
Mhm.
interesting because I see more, a lot of architects, but I see more interior designers taking on this outdoor kitchen
Mhm.
project at the time, which, by the way, used to belong, or rather should belong, to the landscape architects.
Right.
The landscape architects are the one that should be, these guys should be rolling, ladies, men, whatever, you should be rolling in it,
Yeah.
right? but they didn't want any part of it because they didn't want to specify appliances. They didn't want to deal with the
Mhm.
finishes and the materials, and that's really what interior designers do, right?
Right, right.
So you've got just for ease of math, I went to State University. Give me easy math. $100,000 outdoor kitchen project
Hmm.
at scale, commissionables, commission on product, commission,
Hmm.
fees from the client. That's a significant amount of money. And you
Hmm.
multiply that by the 15 clients you have over the course of any given year, that adds up really quickly. And here you have, there are a lot of landscape architects who do this, because they
Hmm.
recognize it, but I'm speaking in generalities, right?
Sure.
What's next for interior designers? Where's the next opportunity for you to look at a project that maybe has a concept that you didn't work on before? Is it power generation and power management? Is it Wi-Fi management?
Mhm.
Is it some of these things that doesn't necessarily fall on the architecture side, but doesn't really have a specialist either?
Right, right. I mean, a lot of people come to us for project coordination. They want to get a series of complex things done in their house. And because of our knowledge base and our vendor base, we're going to help them figure it out. And it gets really interesting, particularly with a weekend home, let's say, because it needs to completely shut off at times for long periods of time from a privacy standpoint, from a utility standpoint. And then all of a sudden it needs to ramp up really quickly. And then let's say, apocalypse, end of the earth, how do we shut it down? And so we're being challenged to it's like a hybrid of, I don't want to say house manager, but almost in like the where do we put the Costco paper towel storage in the, safe basement? And how do we think through these things? How do we even get the, 30-gallon water jug down the stairs? And in a way, you can look at it like our marathon. It's like any project. What's the goals and the soaps, the set of deliverables, the timeline, the budget? What's the roadmap of what we're dealing with? And let's start to phase in how we make that happen. Um, and so it gets interesting, it gets challenging, but it's always the favorite saying of like, you're only as good as your team. And that's where bringing in the right partners or asking the right questions to find the right partners or vendors is critical.
Alana, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time. I'm always stunned how fast an hour goes by, but thank you
I
so
know.
much for taking the time today. I love your work. I love what you do, and I
Oh,
appreciate your
thank
time.
you. It means so much. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed our conversation and the opportunity and just thank you, really, from the bottom of my heart. This was awesome.
Ilana, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts, your story, your journey, your ideas. Thank you to my incredible partner sponsors, Pacific Sales, Kitchen and Home, TimberTech, the Best Buy Company, and Shelter Republic, for their sponsorship of Convo by Design, which allows me to seek out sublime design stories from beyond the work itself and showcase unique personalities chasing new ideas and changing the way we think about design and architecture, and present it to you. So please give them an opportunity on your next project. And you did hear me mention Shelter Republic, which is a closed-end exclusive community for the design and architecture space, landscape architects, those in the industry. If you want to be a part of it, email me. Thank you for listening and sharing this journey of ours, 2026. It's been a huge year so far, over 700 interviews, and wouldn't want to do it without you, so I'm glad you're here. Please keep those guest suggestions coming, as well as thoughts about where you might want to see Convo by Design recorded live. Convo by Design at Outlook.com and on Instagram, Convo by Design with an X. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, be well, stay focused and driven so you can rise above the chaos.